Hello, everyone. You're listening to Scientific Healing with Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. When you enjoy the show, please show some thumbs up or 5-star love. Listen in each week to a new healing episode. I know the power of vibrational healing by combining physics and ancient healing arts to develop my own system that has amplified results with thousands of my clients and healing students. When you are ready to be able to transform your lives and the lives of others, go to scientifichealer.com/energize me to discover more about my program for helping healers and coaches thrive and grow their business. So let me ask you this question. Does your environment support you, or does it feel really good to come home and put your feet up and you look around, or do you look around and get stressed out by what you see and feel? Your environment is as important for helping your health, wealth, and relationships as it is for your own well-being. Your environment contains the energies of those that live in it, those that lived in it before you, and those that visit it past and present, whether they are on the physical plane or otherwise. You may have heard of techniques to clear your environment, such as smudging, putting salt and water in bowls around your house, feng shui, or chanting Om. Those are all good practices, but there is another way that Jeff and Clayten developed to activate high consciousness field to your home and business. You have heard them before twice on this show. I can tell you that I can really feel a difference whether it's turned on or off at my house. It's like it feels prickly with it off. They have continued to evolve the technology first to help the home heal and shift its energy, then to help you heal while you are in your home, and even portable technology to attach to your phone. Today, we're talking about the exciting development of adding EMF mitigation. This is really big news right now, and it is catching a lot of attention lately. Electromagnetic energies affect your health profoundly. Let's get this conversation started. Welcome to the show, Jeff and Clayten. I'm so happy to have you back.
Yeah, so glad to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so let's remind the listeners on what got you started in sending high consciousness life force energy to locations around the world.
Well, this is Clayten here. I came across an inventor back in 2007 that was trying to create a free energy device. And after 7 years of experimenting, his two partners in the project, they kind of left because they ran out of money, and which can happen. And what they'd stumbled upon was a way to focus energy on a small location. So in the original technology, we call it the Genesis machine. There was these two big stacks that pulled energy from the ether, if you will, and sent it to a small, or concentrated in a small area, focused it there, and then they would send it out through the output stack. And in the bottom of the output stack, there was this little chamber, and they would put crystals in that chamber, and they'd put them, well, he would put them around his house, and it made his house feel really good. And one day he had a piece of marble in there, and he took the marble out, and the phone rang, and he was holding on to the marble. And after he finished the conversation, he noticed that the arthritic pain in his hand had gone away. And so he started telling all of his friends around the world. He's probably in his 60s at that time, late 60s. He knew a few people that had arthritis. And they said, okay, well, send me one of those pieces of marble. So, other things work besides marble, but he was charging these up and sending them around the world. And about 2 weeks later, they would call him and say, it's not working anymore, because the vibration was starting to diminish in the marble. So it would courier back, sometimes over halfway around the world. He would charge it up, send it back to them. And that was over at his house one day. He was helping me with, I was helping him with research, and he was helping me with a health problem I had. And I said, well, why don't you just take a picture of the marble and put it in the machine? The machine will be able to find it. And I don't know where that thought came from, but he hadn't had that thought yet. So that was where the idea of actually activating the field around the piece of marble anywhere on the planet, because it has a unique identifier. It's a unique piece of marble. You take a good enough picture, it activates a field around it. So that was kind of I guess an accidental, might seem accidental to us. Since I've gotten good at kinesiology, I went back and measured the level of consciousness of the source of the thought, and it was an angel. And the angels help us all the time here on the planet Earth. I think we just don't necessarily know it. So
Yeah, well, that's exactly the way healers work. All you have to do is either hear their voice, and then you can connect with them, or a name. And I don't need a birthday. Like, all I have to do is talk to the person that says, "Can you help so and so?" And I just said, "Okay, just think of them," and then I automatically connect to them. So it's just like the picture. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. We call it a unique identifier, but a picture is a unique identifier.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when that person's holding that other person in mind that you're working with, that's a unique identifier, and that's how it works with our technology.
Yeah. So it's really, really similar. So now you've activated this particular piece of marble, and now you also activate like the whole property from border to border to border. And it sounds like that the property address is its unique identifier, right? And then after I talked to you the first time, you added raising the health of the people in the home or in that address so how does that information get into the field now?
Well, as Clayten explained, the original machine, and now it's advanced to a new level. A high consciousness field is created, and that is, we're saying, with the unique identifier in that field, we're able to have a quantum association between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And with that activated field, anywhere in the world with that unique identifier, whether it's a cell phone number in a particular country or an address, legal address, or coordinates, now any information that we put into this field in the machine is now available in this activated field. So, and these are written instructions, and they may be, you could say, positive thoughts. They are positive thoughts. They're positive thoughts about your filtering organs, your liver, your kidneys, your gallbladder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like having thousands of monks praying for a very particular function in your liver all the time, for it to be optimal, for it to function in an optimal way.
And we know from incredible research on praying how well that works.
Very much the same mechanism,
mm-hmm.
where that information, that positive intention, is now in the field with you, and the body responds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, I was going to mention the cell phone, but you've already explained what it is. It's just each phone number on a cell phone is its unique identifier. So you're sending the energy to the phone, or you're not sending the energy, but you're activating the field around the phone.
Mm-hmm.
So how far away can the person be from the phone for it to be working for them?
Well, so you have a field, it's like a spherical area.
Mm-hmm.
Field. And so within 300 feet, there's a level of consciousness increase. And then as you get closer to the phone, there's zones. So within 4 feet of the phone, the spherical area is 575 on the Hawkins map, which is what we use to measure the level of consciousness. And so that's where most of the health information that we mentioned is. And then within 10 feet is the EMF mitigation, which we'll get into as a little bit later. But that carries with you as you travel. So the field, you're sort of supported in this. So this energy is flowing into this space to create this high consciousness zone around you.
Yeah, so it's like having a quantum bubble around you, protecting you. Yeah. Instead of the cell phone harming you, the cell phone is helping you.
It's now positive.
Yes.
Now positive, and people actually like holding the phone because it's now at a higher level of consciousness itself, and so that what it's emitting is now changed to be harmonized or positive, or consciousness raising is the way we look at it.
Yeah, so I have a lot of my clients and listeners have actually gotten one or the other, and I've I've never seen them ever stop their subscriptions. Just new, more and more people keep adding, right?
Yeah.
And some people get everything, and they also, they also help their family and stuff. Like one of my clients bought it for her mother and her sister and herself and her husband, and they notice a difference because she's a highly sensitive being, and things have changed dramatically for them. In fact, she doesn't call me for healings anymore because she's good. It's not a good business model for me.
No. Oops.
But I'm busy, so it's really great. My whole idea is to get somebody to a level of health that they don't need me anymore. Because there are, over 7 billion people in the world. I got a lot of work to do. So this latest edition, the EMF mitigation, this is like super duper exciting. So EMF stands for electromagnetic frequency, and it's all that electrical energy flying through the air. Your cell phones radiate it, your Wi-Fi radiates it, your wireless headsets radiate it. This is wired. I use exclusively wired just for that reason. Your Bluetooth, for example, your smart meters. Smart meters are really insidious because my smart meter is right above my headboard. Like, And so everywhere you go, you're getting bombarded with lots of electrical waves. And so you could say, well, so what? The problem is that your nervous system is electrical. Your subtle energy system, the meridians and everything, they are all electrical. So everything is disrupted in your body, your brain, your hormonal systems, your nervous system, and it's even been associated, like high frequency lines have been, or high voltage lines have been associated with cancer, higher incidences of cancer, but right along where all of the high voltage lines run. So this is really exciting news that we can live in a city and still be bombarded. Like, for example, if I take a walk down the street, my cell phone shows there are 8 Wi-Fis right at my phone at any one place along the street. So tell us about this and the evidence showing that the EMF is truly taken care of.
Well, we're going to show some charts and graphs in a little while that demonstrate the evidence, but I just thought I'd talk about the research leading up to it, because you being a scientist, I know you like context and background data, so I'll go a little bit there and then I'll pass it over to Jeff. So what happened, Anastasia, was that we make a promise with the service where the level of consciousness of the property will be at 560 or higher 98% of the time over a previous 24-hour period. So that's our promise. And if we find that it isn't at that level, the person gets it for free until we fix it. So that creates an incentive for us to fix it, which is good, right? Everybody wins. So what we found out was that there were some properties that were dropping below level because we checked them. We check every property once a week, and we check the new people coming on twice a week, every 3 days. So some of the properties were dropping in consciousness. And when we called them and asked them why that was happening, they said, well, I just got a smart meter and it's right behind my headboard. Or I got a cell phone tower just got put up in the neighborhood. Or I live in an apartment and there's a whole bank of smart meters for the apartment put really close to my apartment. And, and so the level of consciousness would drop. And so pretty soon we figured out that the electromagnetic influence was the key factor in that. So we started to do research on EMFs, and it took us a long time to come up with certain distinctions. And one of them is the distinction between a life-supporting electromagnetic frequency and a life detracting or negative electromagnetic frequency. So we call them consciousness-lowering electromagnetic frequencies or consciousness raising, because we talk about consciousness, we promise a certain level of consciousness in the properties. So that language for us was really important to distinguish because it's unique. It's somewhat unique and specific to the field that we deal in. Jeff will talk about this perhaps, and part of what you do, Anastasia, is that you send the positive electromagnetic frequencies from your healing source, if you want to, that help the person. Depending on how we define electromagnetic frequencies, we could call them that. I'm not sure that that's the best term, but
it's not really. People talk about it, but the thing that's interesting about it is that everything on the spiritual plane has a counterpart in the physical plane. So the spiritual plane, what you're calling consciousness field, in the spiritual plane, in our field here, it's EMF. So
right.
In reality, the frequency is like way different. But, people will say, oh, well, the root chakra, it vibrates red, right? And that frequency is very low compared to what it is in the spiritual plane. But what I've discovered is that it's the way our subconscious kind of organizes it in this physical plane, because this physical plane is so unique because it has a timeline and it has dimensionality, which is not in that consciousness space. So for people to kind of understand it rather than getting like this, calling it a frequency transmission makes people understand it. But the proper term, what you're using, is a consciousness transmission.
Or
activating the field,
yes.
right? Activating that field. So what you're doing is it's coming from that spiritual field and activating it. So the healing energy that I send is the stuff that's brought over at 1,000, because our inner core, the very inner core of us, our essence vibrates at 1,000. Everybody, no exception, because we all have a bit of the divine in us. And the layers that are above, over us is what changes our frequency, right? So the layers, and people get sick when the layers are covering that divine essence. And so that's how you lower yourself on the Hawkins scale, is because you have this layers. Oh, you've been abused and you don't process it. You're angry about something and you don't let it go. You don't forgive. You don't be grateful for the lesson. And so those layers then get covered over. And so what I do is I bring in that divine essence, and that's what produces the healing for me. So it's very, very similar to what you're doing, which, this is the first time that I really get it very clearly in my mind what you're doing. Yeah. It's just like you're sending healing. You're activating a healing field around a home.
It's very much like prayer.
It's absolutely, totally.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give a little bit of background on EMFs so that we're not afraid of EMFs, because we're emanating EMFs right now as living beings. That some are positive and some aren't. Yeah.
The happy stuff is great. The mad stuff is not.
No, we don't like the mad stuff. Yeah, so I'll pass it over to Jeff. I just wanted to add that little bit. So, because there's a lot of fear around EMFs, and it's just nice to take some of the fear off.
Yeah, it's whether they disrupt or whether they're harmonizing with the body. It's a good way to put it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what we discovered, the first discovery we made was, if you take a cell phone, because that's where we started, we have a service with the cell phone, of course, as we said, was if you raise the level of consciousness of that, so you have a unique identifier, you're activating a field, and then we're putting instructions in the field, and one of the instructions is for the level of consciousness of that object, the phone itself, the cellular device, to rise until its emanations are harmonizing for the human system and consciousness raising. So we discovered that for a cell phone, that's about 580 on the Hawkins map. And for a 5G router, which we'll talk about in a minute, it's about 600. So when that object is now, that device is now vibrating at that level, or at that level of energy, what it's emitting is changed through the antennas. So what is coming out of it? So that was the first discovery, is that now everything coming out of that device is positive for life or consciousness raising. And the second thing we discovered is that we could take the energetic essence of of a substance and have it come into the field. And in this case, shungite, we, through the research, as Clayten said, we did a lot of research and discovered that shungite is a material that is harmonizing for EMFs. People tape shungite to their wall where the smart meters are. They put it on their routers, and it changes the energy. And so what we were able to do was, through the activation of the field, the information, is to bring the energetic essence of shungite in to the environment and have it actually go into emanations from outside, Wi-Fi routers from next door, cell phone towers down the street. And now all the energy coming into the environment is harmonized, and everything being emitted from inside is harmonized. So the way that we see that, first of all, is people's personal experience. So in the free trial and in the subscription, you can turn the EMF mitigation on and off. And you mentioned spiky.
Yeah, it feels like, I can feel people's emotions. And when somebody is angry at me, it feels like I've got itching powder all over me. Like it feels like there's like static on the surface of my skin, like really uncomfortable static. And that's how it felt, the difference, right? The difference between feeling relaxed and smooth and everything harmonizing to getting this angry field coming at me. And the interesting thing is that the Heart Math Institute has done studies of the emanations of the heart, which is the emotional emanations. And happy people radiate with a very smooth waveform, and it's a very high frequency waveform. And angry people radiate with a very spiky waveform, and it's very low frequency. So it matches, it matches all the things that we know about how, in the Hawkins field, it depends on your base emotion and the higher emotions. So the levels that you're talking about is unconditional love and above is 500 and up, and joy is at 600, and enlightenment's at 700. So joy, laughing a lot and joking, it's people say, well, getting healing is a serious business. I go, yeah, but joy is a very high, high frequency, high consciousness level of human expression. And that's where we want to be, right? Yeah. So you are able to inject the frequency or the consciousness level of shungite that protects us into that information field.
Yes. And what's really interesting as you talk about spiky is, well, how do you measure this? How do you see that it's working? And the first one is, how do you feel? So that we mentioned that. And, we took EMF meters, your traditional EMF meter, and you cannot tell the difference between, with and without the EMF mitigation. So it's not showing up on that type of instrument. But what we discovered is a gas discharge visualization device, a GDV, is sensitive enough to see the difference. So we went to a woman named Melissa Waterman who did 3 years of work with Dr. Joe Dispenza at his events, measuring the energy of the meditation sessions, and they would really see the increase in energy through this device. And so with an attachment, you can read the energy of a room. So we did a series of experiments with Melissa Waterman, and the first one, actually you can see the spikiness of the energy in your normal kind of baseline EMF. And we can show you a chart right now, and the red energy in the chart is the kind of up and down spikiness of all the incoming EMF energy in the location, which was a house in the suburbs. And then as the second part of the experiment, she turned on FLFE with EMF mitigation, and that is the blue line, the blue data points that you see on this graph. And you can see they're much more coherent. They're much, in a very narrow band. They're not spiky like the red data points. So that's the difference. And as in their device, they call it entropy, or a measure of the chaos of the environment. So as you go up the scale, it gets more chaotic, and down the scale, it's less.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, in terms of my perception, like my kind of main way of me interacting with the spiritual field or the energy field or whatever people call it, the quantum field, the fifth dimension, everybody has a bunch of names for it. But my way of interacting with that is that I am what you call clairsentient. That means that I feel everything. So I feel people's emotions. I feel their thoughts. Like I get pictures in my mind of their thoughts. Like, I'll see exactly what they're looking at. And I'll sense, and it's like my whole skin feels it. And if someone is sick, I'll like clue into their body and I'll feel where they're sick. Like wherever they're in pain, I feel the exact level of pain they're feeling. But fortunately, I can do it momentarily. It's like sending in the probe and pulling out really quickly. And yeah, so that makes total sense that when something is off, that everything is spiky. So when something's spiky in the body, and by sending the smoothing field into the body, I can see why it would get well. Yeah, right?
Yep.
That's awesome.
It's really exciting to actually see that, because we had a lot of evidence during our surveys of our beta testing of people felt a lot less tension in their bodies, a lot less anxiety, better sleep, less headaches, all sort of indicators of, just less perturbation or, less negative stimulation in the environment. And we did a 5G experiment with Melissa's, our second one, and they're on the website, which you'll be able to get to through your page.
Yes. I'm creating a page for people to find out more about you. And there's going to be some of that information, the show notes, and it'll be scientifichealer.com/FLFE, which stands for Focused Life Force Energy. Right? So people will be able to see some of this information, and we'll be, putting the charts up here so we can show them exactly what it means. But, anything that's got a spiky waveform, your body does interpret it as chaos, whether you feel it or not. It just depends on how chaotic you are. It's kind of like, when you've got, in the old days with TV, you would have snow, right, on the screen. And can you see the picture through the snow? Yes or no, right? And you would have to turn the snow down until you could get the picture through. So most people have snow around them, and the feelings don't get through the snow. It's like what I just call is just like radical interference, because their own body is generating this spiky energy, and that's why so many people are miserable. They're upset. I had one lady who was angry at her father for 40 years. And she was projecting this anger out. She was trying to run a business, and she was the kindest woman you could imagine, but everybody goes, "Ooh, she's scary." And I did 3 months of healing on her, and one day I just said, "You have a lot of anger pent up." So I released the anger from her body, and she goes, "I don't know what you just did, but I can't get angry at my dad anymore." And then her business blew up, and everybody goes, "What happened to you? Who are you? You're such a different person." Like, she was smiling and glowing, and she was able to feel more, right? Because all that noise was gone. And so when you have that, you're projecting it out, and other people can sense it, and they'll go the other way. They won't know why. They'll just go the other way. right? So that's why probably people that get your service, everybody wants to come and doesn't want to leave.
It definitely happens.
It's one of the very few complaints we've had is since I've got my FLFE subscription, my grocery bill's gone up because my friends come over and they don't want to leave.
Yeah, so they should turn it off when their friends come over.
My friends to leave, turn off the service. Yeah. Go over to Anastasia's place for Sunday dinner again and have a picnic. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people come over. You know, my house is like, it's okay. It's 1,100 square feet. I mean, it's $1 million house where I live because it's really close to the beach in Southern California. But it's just a small house, and people come in, they go, "Wow, this is a great house." And I'm looking around and I'm going, "Just a house." It's just a small tract home in the middle of a tract with a bunch of other homes the same way, but they love the way they feel in it. Yeah. They say it feels cozy and welcoming, right?
Yeah, we've had people get the service and someone comes back a couple of days later. It's like, what did you do at the place? Did you paint it? What did you do?
Exactly.
There's more light in it, you know, really.
Yeah. Who did you get us to decorate it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, part of them knows.
Exactly. So this has been really awesome and educational, and I can't wait for more people to sign up with your service so they could feel that great too. And then when their guests come over, to turn it off temporarily so their grocery bills don't blow up. So thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you coming back again to explain all the wonderful benefits of having a high consciousness field around your house and around you and around your cell phone. And you know, having it so we're not being messed up by all those bad EMFs. Right.
Well, yeah, thank you for having us back. Yeah, it's always great to see you, and you do so much good in the world. We're great to be with you here.
Yes, you're welcome. So just to remind the listeners to go to scientifichealer.com/FLFE to find out more about the service and to be able to sign up for the service and get that free trial to just see what the heck is going on. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. I so appreciate you being here. And please give us some thumbs up and 5-star love. Share it with your friends. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next time, same place. Thank you.